Hi, I'm David, and together with Dries we started D&D Mushrooms, a small-scale commercial mushroom farm with the goal to eventually supply our whole region. Along the way we realized something really important. Growing mushrooms as a hobby is completely different than growing it on a commercial scale. And honestly, knowing the differences can save you a ton of time, money and effort.
That's exactly why we are making this video today. An in-depth guide showing you the differences between hobby growers and commercial growers at every step of the way. From mycelium all the way to fruiting mushrooms, we will show you what works for hobby growers, what's needed for commercial production, and along the way we will drop some pro tips that can really make a difference.
And to make it easier to follow, Dries will take you through the hobby side, while I will talk you through the commercial side. By the end of this video, you will clearly see the differences between a hobby grower and a commercial grower.
You will also know what is best for your current setup and be ready to grow mushrooms more efficiently, whether it's just for fun at home or as a business. Grower mindset. Hobby growers, you are here to learn, experiment and have fun. It's mostly curiosity and pure enjoyment. Trying things out, seeing what works and making mistakes along the way. For us, mistakes aren't a problem. They are part of the fun. Passion alone is enough.
But once you decide to go commercial, it means you're running a business. And that means your main goal is to make it profitable and sustainable. Your love for mushrooms is still the foundation, because without it, you won't last. But on top of that, you need a business mindset. That means thinking ahead, managing your farm efficiently, staying organized, solving problems, and making sure you hit your production targets. Many people fail commercially because they have the passion, but they haven't aligned their mindset with the reality of running a business. So basically, growing for fun and growing for profit are two different experiences. Hobby growing is for fun, but growing commercially demands that extra shift in mindset. And that shift is what really separates a hobby from a business. Scale and goals.
Hobby growers, we are usually on a small scale. We are growing mushrooms for ourselves, maybe some friends and family, and our focus is on quality rather than quantity. We can take our time and experiment with different methods, and all that without having to worry about meeting strict production targets.
Commercial growers, our main goal is profitability, which naturally requires a bigger production. Consistency is key. You need to frequently produce consistent volumes, because you've got customers, contracts and costs to cover. It's not about small, perfect batches anymore. It's all about reliable output that keeps your business running and growing.
Risk and responsibility. For us hobby growers, the risks are mostly personal. Sure, we aim for the best mushrooms, but if something goes wrong, it's not a big deal. We don't have customers or deadlines depending on us, so mistakes are part of the process.
For us commercial growers, the stakes are much higher. Our mistakes can cost us money, impact our reputation and lose us customers. We are responsible for delivering on time. For example, being at a farmer's market when promised and making sure your mushrooms are of the highest quality. Customers start expecting a certain size, appearance and reliability. So you need to be able to guarantee that over and over. Planning, consistency and problem solving become essential. And this is where the business mindset really comes into play. So now that we've covered the big picture differences, mindset, scale and responsibility, let's talk about the actual growing process.
That starts at the very beginning, mycelium. Us hobby growers, we don't need to overcomplicate things. We can just buy mycelium. It can come in syringes or liquid culture jars or mother culture on agar. From there you can go ahead and make your grain spawn. Simple, convenient and perfect for small-scale hobby growing.
We can start from spores or we can grow our own mycelium by cloning mushrooms. We will focus on cloning here because it's the most standard option for commercial farms. That means taking a piece of a fruiting body and transferring it to a sterile plate. This technique ensures predictable and consistent growth, which is crucial for commercial production. Now, I won't go into the exact agar recipes because this is a topic on its own. The point is, as a commercial grower, you need to know the technique. Clone, isolate, expand, and then use your mycelium for the next steps. Hobby growers can skip most of that because ready-made cultures already give you what you need to start.
Grain choice as a hobby grower. As a hobby grower, you can pick almost any grain you like. Rye, millet, wheat, oats, all depending on what we want to experiment with. We can buy whatever we feel like in small quantities from the stores, and the price per kilos often doesn't matter to us. Hydration and preparation as a hobby grower. For both type of growers, the grains have to be hydrated. The difference lies in the fact that we hobby growers can take our time here, which usually means a soak and boil method. We can soak our grains overnight and then boil them briefly. As a hobby grower, we have the flexibility to do multiple steps to get our desired hydration levels. Jars or bags as a hobby grower. Jars are perfect as a hobby grower. They are small and reusable. You just need to buy a adjusted lid or make it yourself, which is quite easy to do.
Grain choice as a commercial grower. If you're growing commercially, you'll want to look for grain that is cheap, consistent, and easy to source in bulk. However, some commercial growers choose to go with a grain that is a bit more expensive if that grain allows things like faster inoculation rates, more suitable for the no soak and no boil method, and whatever extra reasons you might have. Hydration for commercial growers. Efficiency is key. Grains are often soaked overnight and drained, and boiling is often skipped. Some commercial growers use a no-soak, no-boil method. That means combining water and grain directly into jars or bags and sterilize them. The goal is still the same, grain hydration, but time efficiency counts as well. Tip: if you do no-boil, no-soak method, we recommend a hydration level of 50% for small batches and lower levels of hydration for bigger batches. You then might want to hit 38% hydration levels, meaning adding less water proportionately. Jars or bags for commercial growers. If you're running a commercial operation, you can choose to either work only with jars, only with bags, or often a combination of both. Whatever fits your workflow best. Keep in mind that jars take a lot more space, so if you're working with larger batches, you might want to consider working with bags. That said, jars are still incredibly useful. For example, you might use jars for your first generation of grain spawn. Pro tip: there's a method called the hot shake. After sterilizing your jars, you take them out while they're still warm and give them a good shake. The heat helps redistribute the moisture that tends to settle at the bottom, so your grain hydration becomes evenly spread throughout the jar.
Lab work as a hobby grower. As a hobby grower, you can get away with a small still air box for most of your work. It's a simple way to keep your work sterile. If you want to take it a bit more seriously, a small flow hood can help reduce contamination even more. But for hobby purposes, a still air box is usually enough. It keeps things simple and manageable.
Lab work as a commercial grower. If you're going commercial, sterility becomes critical and you'll want a proper flow hood. You can either build one yourself to save costs or buy one ready-made. The key is to make sure it's big enough for your workflow. Look at your table, your bags, and ensure you have enough surface area to work on.
Next up, substrate. We hobby growers, we have a lot of freedom here. We can experiment with different substrates and try out mixes. Usually the cost doesn't concern us. We can buy some plastic bags in small batches, or we can try to use some buckets. Or if you have a garden with some space, you can use some logs.
For commercial production, bag choice is more strategic. You will need bags that are large enough to scale for efficiency, and often you buy them in bulk. Sometimes hundreds or even thousands at a time. Sourcing from reliable suppliers is key. Then there is the substrate recipe itself. Wheat bran, straw, master's mix. This will depend on what's available in your region. For commercial growers, it's all about yield, costs, and reliability.
Incubation. For us hobby growers, incubation is pretty straightforward. Just find a quiet spot at home, with a relatively stable temperature, around 20-22 degrees. A cupboard, shelf, or any place that's out of the way works fine. And don't stress too much about the light. It's okay if some light hits your bags. Just avoid prolonged direct sunlight. If the temperature drops below 20 degrees, your mycelium will develop slower. Above 22 degrees, growth speeds up a bit, but contamination risk increases.
Commercial growers. For you, the same basics apply, but on a larger scale. Temperature is your main focus, because that's what really matters. Make it a habit to check your bags daily. This will help you spot contamination early and remove any problematic bags before it spreads. Pro tip for everyone: make sure your bags aren't touching each other. This is essential because the bags produce heat and you want to leave some space between them. Fruiting.
Let's talk about fruiting. After about 10 to 14 days, depending on your species, most of your substrate bags should be fully colonized. That's your cue to move them to the fruiting room. Now, for fruiting, there are 4 main conditions you need to manage: temperature, humidity, airflow, and light. For us hobby growers, this can still be pretty simple. We don't need a huge room or expensive equipment. We just need a spot at home where the temperature is roughly 13 to 20 degrees. It should also be reasonably humid and there should be some light. Make sure the area has some ventilation so CO2 doesn't build up too much. You will also need to spray your bags 2 times a day to keep the moisture levels up. However, if you want a more controlled setup, you can use a Marta tent. This is a grow tent perfect for home-scale production. Inside the tent, you can set it up however you like. The choice is yours, depending on how hands-on you want to do it and how precise you want your environment to be. The key takeaway here: as a hobby grower, you have flexibility. You can either keep it simple with a basic home setup or go a bit more advanced with something like a Marta tent. Either way, we have to make sure the 4 conditions are roughly in check.
Us commercial growers have to manage the 4 conditions in a stricter way. This is because you're working with multiple bags and you want your mushrooms to come out good and consistent. So it's important to calculate your monthly energy usage, both for heating and cooling, as it can become a significant part of your operation cost. Humidity is extremely important. We use a do-it-yourself humidifier, and the great thing about a DIY setup is that you can choose the size of your humidity box. Make sure it's big enough so you don't have to fill it consistently, or you can work with a float valve. Pro tip: we made a video about how to make your own humidifier, so go check that one out. Also, because you're working with a larger amount of water, it's important to keep everything clean. We recommend cleaning the humidifier at least once a week and optionally also using a UV light. This doesn't replace the weekly cleaning, but it does help keep the system much cleaner. Light is mainly important for pin formation and direction. The key is to give your mushrooms the daylight signal, which means buying a light which is around 6500 lux.
Alright, and after all that hard work, it's finally time to harvest. And honestly, that moment never gets old.
Whether you're a hobby grower or a commercial grower, seeing your mushrooms being ready to pick is always satisfying.
It's proof that your planning, patience, and all the little things along the way finally paid off.
Mushroom growing really is a journey. Mistakes will happen, you'll learn from them,
and every step teaches you something new. That's exactly why we wanted to make this video, to show the differences between a hobby grower and a commercial grower, and to share what we have learned to make your journey a bit smoother.
If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to never miss future videos.
Thanks for watching, keep experimenting, and enjoy the fruits of your work.